it becomes very difficult to break that. In fact, we have entire courses in energy medicine yoga of helping to break these habits and to insert new, more beneficial habits, because people think it's all willpower and they just double down on themselves. If I was just stronger, then I would be able to break this habit or create this new habit. But in fact, it's not willpower. It is energy systems in the body. And our energies run in habits as well. Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Energy Works. I am here solo today, and I want to talk about change. Everybody's favorite, not favorite thing. We actually have a kind of joke, not joke, I don't know how to say that, because it's actually quite serious. But when we're talking about healing and transformation and the things that are required for deep healing, we come up again and again with our resistance to change. And so we sort of, I don't say we, I have the saying, people would rather die than change. It's that serious. It's that intense. And this is why we are so addicted to sort of Western health care, which says, just do whatever you do and then we'll fix it, either in an operation or with a drug. And I've shared with you before, my mom had open heart surgery just about a year ago. And when I said, what should she change? Should she eat differently or anything like that? And they're just like, no. It's like, what do you mean, no? Heart disease doesn't happen just in a vacuum. It's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle disease, as well as having some genetic component. But the more and more research comes out, most diseases are lifestyle driven. But they're like, no, she can just eat what she wants, do what she wants. Be great if she exercised, but not necessary. So that's our Western model. Just do whatever you want, and then we'll operate, or we'll give you some drugs and we'll try to fix it there. Whereas in alternative medicine, or what I like to call original medicine, it's about making changes in the environment, because your environment leads directly to your health. And by environment, what you eat, what you wear, what you breathe, what you ingest, what cleaning products you use, where you live. Some people live in really toxic environments. The home itself, building materials are incredibly toxic. And I remember actually working with a woman who had some autoimmune issues, quite serious. And I said, my first suggestion to you, which is really the suggestions that this is the main thing that people say when you're struggling with something autoimmune, is you need to look at your home where you live, and you might need to change that. And I could just see the veil drop in front of her face. Like, she was not going to change where she moved, even if it was going to kill her. And that's where I came up with that. Like, people would rather die than change. But how can we look at change in a different way, in an exciting way? And I wonder sometimes if it is a result of aging, where people get more and more stuck and fixed in their ways. And the reason that I want to talk about this now, and you might be listening to this anytime, but I'm filming this right now as we're entering into summer. And one of the energies that is exalted, I guess you could say, or most in its home element, is an energy system called triple warmer. And this energy system it governs your habit fields. And so it's really wonderful that we have habits, because it makes life easier. We have this ability to do things over and over, and then we don't have to think about them anymore. You can get in your car and drive. You don't have to remember how to or figure things out. And you know that because when you get in a new car, then you're like, wait a second, I have to change my habits because maybe the key is in a different place or the mirrors are all different. Or if you're used to driving a gas car and then you're in an electric car, or you're used to driving a standard and then you get in a shift. And actually, I think standard is a shift car. You're used to an automatic and then you get into a standard or a shift car and you're like, wait a second, both feet activating here. So when we get out of our habits is when we see how our habits inform us. And most of what we do, in fact, the studies talk about 90% of what we do, our thoughts, our actions every day are repetitive, habituated. So chances are you drink your hot drink in the morning in the same location, maybe even the same mug. Maybe you prepare it the same way every day. And then you sit in the same spot and you do the same things. Do you read the paper? Do you scroll on your phone? Do you chat with your spouse or your children or your pets? We do those same things and then you get ready for work. You shower, you wash your hair and you brush it and you fix it in the same way. You put your makeup on if you do makeup the same way. You wear similar outfits. You get in your car, you drive the exact same way. You park in the same spot. So we have these habits. And those habits become very difficult to break. And we notice that when we're trying to break a bad habit or what we consider a bad habit. So maybe you eat too much sugar and you want to minimize that. So you're going to eat less sugar. But now sugar's become habituated into your body, into your diet, into your mouth and taste buds. It becomes very difficult to break that. In fact, we have entire courses in energy medicine yoga of helping to break these habits and to insert new, more beneficial habits because people think it's all willpower and they just double down on themselves. If I was just stronger, then I would be able to break this habit or create this new habit. But in fact, it's not willpower. It is energy systems in the body. And our energies run in habits as well. And most of those, we want them to run the way they do, but oftentimes they also run a little haywire, and that becomes habituated. If, for example, your energies are not crossing over all of the time and they're running in parallel to each other, that is not the best path of energy, and that leads you to not being able to heal, not being able to feel good in your life, not having energy. So we have habits that serve us well, and then we have habits that maybe don't serve us as well. And so I thought it would be fun in this season where it is habit field season. Can we think about and talk about and play around a little bit with changing some habits, doing something new? And the reason that summertime is a great time to introduce some things is because a lot of us is a break in the habit field in summertime. If you're in school, then you're usually not in school in the summer. And the days are longer. You've got more time. Even if you're still working full time, the daylight is so much longer after you get off of work that maybe you've got time to do different things. People are traveling, visiting family, visiting friends, visiting new places. And so this is where we really start to have the opportunities to shake up our habitual patterns. And so it's really fun to just start to think about what you could do just in your daily life that's different. Can you drive a new way to work or try something different off the menu? There's my favorite restaurant in town. I always get the exact same thing. I'm so excited. I'm always looking forward to it. But what would it be like if I tried something different? If I broke out of the norms? And you can think, well, that's really, low budget target or low hanging fruit there to just change your order at a restaurant. But that starts to show you how habit field strong you are, that you do the same things over and over again. So maybe drive a different way to work. I have this friend that they would go on road trips, her and her husband, every year, and they would literally play the game left, right, straight. Every intersection they came to, starting like at the end of their street, all the way to wherever they ended up, they would play left, right, straight at every intersection. And then they would just go on these crazy, wild, amazing adventures, having no idea where they would go, what they would encounter, where they would end up. That might feel like a lot for somebody who really likes to plan. I am a planner. But I didn't used to be so plan oriented as I am now. I would buy a plane ticket and I'd land and I'd just be like, here I go, put my backpack on and head out into the world. And that was really exciting. And the things that I discovered and learned about myself and the world, you can't replicate those in any classroom or any book experience. And so I really encourage you to try something new. Make this the summer where you try something new. Maybe you do choose to go on vacation to someplace you've never been or you've always wanted to go to. Or you stay home, but you go and visit someplace that you've never been. I remember I used to live in New York City. So many people in New York have never been to the Statue of Liberty. That seems insane, right? People have a bucket list to go to New York to see the Statue of Liberty, and yet people live there and they never go. We have this beautiful hike that is down to this river through the old growth forest. And it's about an hour and a half from our house. And it's on the way to Hollyhock, where I go and teach on retreat every other year. And every time we pass, we say, we should really do that hike. But then we're always on our way on this 8-hour road trip. And so we don't do it. And so I've put it in my mind, let's just go and just do that hike. We'll make a whole trip of just that one hike that's new, that I've never done before, that I've heard just amazing things about. Are there places in your own backyard that you've never visited, that you've never explored? Opening up yourself to these new opportunities can shift perspective of everything in your life. Doing something new, doing something different. This is why travel is considered the great mind expander, because you have to get out of your habits when you're traveling. You simply can't use the same mug that you use every morning, and you can't maybe have that same hot drink that you have every morning because you're somewhere totally different, where they might drink something different. They might eat at different times. And can you soften your resistances to doing something new and open up to the excitement of what possibilities are around you? And so I want to give you a little technique to also calm down that part of your energy system that says, no, we have to do the same thing over and over again, because that's a real thing. Like I said, just having the willpower to want to change and shift something isn't always enough. We need to work with the energies that resist change. And that energy is triple warmer. And I've talked about it a lot because it's really powerful and strong. I'm going to take my headsets off so I can show you what we're going to do. We're just going to smooth behind the ears as if you're smoothing your hair back, whether you have hair or not. And if it's up or not, it doesn't matter. You're just going to make that movement. So I'm going to take my headsets off here. And you can just take your fingers all together and sort of rake them on your head around your ears, or just smooth behind your ears a few times, like you're pushing your hair back behind your ears. And that can calm down, does calm down that reactivity response that says, no, something new, I don't want to do it. And it allows that excitement that I think maybe most or all of us used to have with something new. And, I think about it too, and I've done a podcast before on boredom, which is just sort of feels like a rare commodity these days. Nobody ever gets bored anymore because you always have either your phone, I'm using my hand to mimic my phone, your phone in front of your face with all the knowledge of the world at your fingertips. And so there's no reason to be bored, except that there's a really good reason to be bored, because that allows some internal desire to emerge, as opposed to getting bombarded constantly by everybody else's viewpoint, thoughts, ideas, their desires, their like, follow, do all that, subscribe, click, 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 click. If you can just calm all of that and be in a place of nothingness, and allow some true desire, true emotion to arise in you, then you can start to know yourself and shift yourself into something that might bring you more satisfaction in your life if you're feeling maybe unsatisfied or disconnected. And those phones that have the illusion of connecting us, but actually don't really connect us. If we allow ourselves to connect more deeply into ourselves, then it also allows us to more deeply connect with others. So this idea of boredom that we don't have, but we used to. And if you can think back to the times when you were a kid and summer just seemed like forever, so long, and there were days that were just so boring. There was nothing to do. Of course, there's a million things to do, but your little brain was like, there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, no one to play with. What am I going to do? And then that boredom led to some discovery, and how exciting this new discovery was. Or when you were just lying on the grass in the backyard, just looking up at the sky and watching the clouds scud by. And then your mom was like, hey, do you want to go on this adventure with me? And there it was, the excitement, the spark of doing something new, something different that would bring you on some adventure that you had no idea about. Coming back into that excitement for the change, excitement for new. And if you could come back to those places where you were excited for a new year at school, or going off to college, or going to summer camp, or meeting a new friend, all of those feelings that anything was possible. If you can come back to that, because anything is still possible. And our minds have this ability to take us on these adventures. If we can just click slightly out of the stuckness that we get into, that then becomes a habit, that then just becomes how we go through our days. And then the boredom isn't so much because there's nothing to do. The boredom starts to emerge in a really challenging way that it's like, this is just my life, the same thing day after day after day. How am I going to do this forever? Even that scrolling through the phone, those dopamine hits start to lessen, and that becomes its own sort of negative charge. Can you have the courage to break out of that, smooth behind the ears, calm that response to change, and try something new? It can be small, like ordering different off the menu, or driving a different way to work, or going on a little mini adventure in your own hometown. Or it could be something really big, like spinning the globe and boom, stopping it, and that's where you're going to go on your next adventure. Or taking a trip that you hadn't decided before that you were going to take. It's a bit of a challenge, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Do you love change, love excitement, love new adventures, or do you like to just do the same thing? And does that doing the same thing bring you calm, balm, peace, and joy in your life, serenity? Or do you feel a little bored and a little stuck? There's no right answer. Each of us is on our own journeys in our lives, and we get to share little bits of those journeys with each other and spark each other up and light each other up so that we have this collective joy and excitement about the next things to come down the pike. I'd love to hear what new exciting adventures you're going to take, you're planning to change up what you do habitually and try something new. Let me know what it is, and I will share again in the comments as well the next time I do something totally new, which might be as soon as I click off this podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you. So please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates. So light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.